Winter is December, winter is November. Winter, best of all, is the time when Christmas comes along. We're talking Zoobilee Zoo. Hit it. It was 1986. The U.S. launched the polar bear satellite. Lobster bisque was a popular food trend. Reggie Jackson hit his 537th home run, passing Mickey Mantle, and Lookout Bear and Talkatoo Cockatoo went on a snowy adventure to find his hibernating cousin. I'm your host, Jerry D, with another episode of Totally Rad Christmas, the podcast that talks all things Christmas in the 80s. Toys, movies, specials, music, and fads. If it was gnarly during Christmas in the 80s, we got it covered. Now, joining me is an exceptionally special guest. You'll know him as the star of Zoobilee Zoo. It's Michael B. Moynahan. Michael, how's it going?
It's going great, Jerry. I'm so happy to be here with you, but I must say, I don't think I would consider myself the star of Zoobilee Zoo. We were an ensemble, and people who watch Zoobilee Zoo would, I think, most maybe consider Ben Vereen the star. And I was really fortunate enough to have worked with that cast, that very supportive, loving cast that have been really, really close in my life as friends, and
Nice.
and we're like a family, and we still keep in touch. But thank you for saying the star.
Well then, let me go ahead and say one of the stars.
Thank you.
But I think you're definitely the star of this episode that we're going to be talking about today.
I'll accept that. Yes, thank you.
All right, there you go. But before we get into it, let me just ask a couple of quick questions here. So, how did you get started in acting?
Ever since I can remember, that's all I ever wanted to do or be as an actor. And it may have come from, when I try to really pin it down, I do remember as a little kid seeing my uncle in a play. He was a great actor. And I looked around as he was taking his curtain call, and people were clapping for him and smiling. And I thought, wow, that's really neat. I want people to do that for me. And,
Nice.
and so I just always wanted to do it. And so when I first got the opportunity in school to be in the school play, couldn't wait, auditioned, got in the play, and did lots of plays. When I was in middle school, or junior high, as we used to call it, my English teacher directed the plays for the school. And she encouraged me. I think I was doing the role of Ben Harper in Tom Sawyer musical.
Mm-hmm.
And she encouraged me to audition at the Downey Civic Light Opera for their production that they were casting at that time. And she had a connection with the Downey Civic Light Opera. So I auditioned. And then now I found myself on a bigger stage with a bigger audience, a couple thousand in that audience. And I just really loved it, loved being on stage. And so that production closed, and I auditioned for the next one and the next one and the next one. And it's what I loved and still love doing. And I got more serious with training, with vocal training and dance training. And I was one of my first professional jobs was at Disneyland, dancing in the Main Street Electrical Parade.
That's cool.
In the audition for that, there happened to be an agent just kind of hiding in the wings, looking for talent. And he approached me after and asked if he could represent me for television and film and commercials, TV commercials as well.
Right.
And I said, yeah, that's what I want to do. So let's do it together. And turns out that they're one of the best agents in the business, and I'm still with them today. That how many years later? Over 40 years later.
Nice. And I imagine, especially back then, I think agents were probably a little bit more hands-on than they are now.
Very much so.
Yeah.
This is when I signed with them. The agency was William D. Cunningham and Associates,
Mm-hmm.
and Bill Cunningham had a rule, and none of my other friends who have agents have this kind of relationship with their agent. But Bill's rule was that every agent there had to have a chair by their desk, an extra chair, so that clients like me could walk in the office at any time and sit down and talk to their agent. And that was unusual, and is more unusual now, in a time that some people have never met their agents face to face. They just get a phone call or now an email. You have an audition, here, or you need to do a self-tape audition, and here are the guidelines, and send it by tomorrow. So yeah, it was a different time,
Mm-hmm.
and William D. Cunningham and Associates became Cunningham, Escott, DePini, which now became Cunningham, Escott, Slevin, and Doherty, CESD.
Yes.
Still with them, and they're just great. And I think, when you ask how did I get started, a lot of it, like you hear from actors, was good fortune, right place at the right time. That agent saw me in that audition, and I was able to then have a successful career as an actor because of that. So
Yeah. And I mean, you hear stories like that and you see it on TV and it's just like, wow. But to actually meet someone that's
yeah,
happened to, that's something, I mean, that's really extraordinary. But so I know you've played quite a few different roles. Is there a role other than Lookout Bear that has been your favorite or something that stands out to you?
they all, there's something about each of them that made them special. I remember one movie that I did, and it was early in my career, and I
Hmm.
played Pee Wee Hutchins in the movie Body
Body
Slam,
Slam.
and
Yeah.
and it was so much fun because I loved wrestling. I come from a family of five brothers, and so anything sports related, even professional wrestling was really a big part of our lives. And in that movie, I got to not only meet some of my favorite uh, professional wrestlers who I really idolized. I actually got to wrestle one of them, Rowdy Roddy Piper.
That's
Got
so cool.
And I was, this very skinny, kind of nerdy character. And I get in the ring and wrestle Rowdy Roddy Piper. And that was really a special moment for me in my life, my career. And just meeting him and getting to know him. We, hung out on our breaks and things. And I got to know him for that short period of time that I was on that film. And that was a special part that I'll remember because of who I got to work with in that one.
Yeah, it's always neat when you get to just work with people that you admire or just your heroes. It's
Yeah,
usually pretty cool.
yeah. And I've gotten to meet a lot of interesting and famous people from Zoobilee Zoo mainly because their kids want to meet us.
Oh
And
yeah.
well, one year we were asked to be in the Hollywood Christmas parade, and with all of these celebrities, big stars, Jimmy Stewart, these huge stars, and people like Jane Seymour were bringing
Wow.
their kids over to meet us. Oh, my kids want to meet you. Like we were the big stars to these people who we thought were big stars because they're kids. So,
That's that's so cool. It's
yeah,
just that's yeah, that's really amazing. I think that was in '86 when you were in that.
sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because you the footage is actually out there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty neat.
Zoobilee Zoo, Zoobilee Zoo. Magic and wonder are waiting for you. It's as close as a dream, and as bright as the brightest blue. See you in Zoobilee Zoo.
Thank you very much. Congratulations on the new series, Venturine, and all the games from Zoobilee Zoo. Hey, can we get a shot of that yellow truck? Can we get a shot of that yellow truck?
Which I do have one question before we jump into this episode. How hot was that costume? Because
It
it
was
always
hot. Yeah, really
yeah,
hot. And
yeah.
we shot the original 65 episodes were shot in Van Nuys,
Oh yeah.
um, and in the summertime, and it's really hot. And just like with any television production or film, uh, every time the cameras were rolling or sound really is what they did it for. To get clean sound, they had to shut off all the air conditioning
Mm-hmm.
in the studio. So we'd shoot the scene, and then right when the scene was over, they'd turn the air conditioning back on. But it would get really hot, and the makeup that we wore was pretty pretty fragile. So we would constantly be being touched up and fixed, and but it was that the costumes are hot.
Yeah. Yeah. It just always seemed like it. And
Yeah,
I typically run hot, so whenever I see someone in a costume, I'm always like,
yeah.
oh, they got to be,
Oh yeah,
burning up in
and
there.
yeah, but there were people who looked out for us,
Yeah.
on the crew that made sure that right when we finished the scene, they could take, depending on the character, their costumes. Like I had a whole piece that covered most of my head
Right.
and came down onto my shoulders, and other characters had other types of headpiece, and they would quickly get that off and put fans on us and air conditioning. So it wasn't as bad as you might think, but yeah, we were pretty soaking wet at the end of the day under those costumes.
I gotcha. How early were you actually cast in the, in the production process? Like, or when were you involved, I should say?
Um, the original concept from Hallmark were characters that wore heads, so you wouldn't be able to see the face.
Oh, okay.
And then I don't know how they would have cast that. I wouldn't have been a part of that. But
Right.
Steve Binder was one of the advocates for casting actors and using makeup.
Mm-hmm.
And he was our executive producer. And then it was just a matter of casting call. Lila Selleck was the casting director, and my agent just one day said, "Oh, you have an audition for a new TV show. How do you feel about wearing a prosthetic nose and makeup?" And I thought, "Whoa, that sounds cool. I'd really like that." When we were cast, a lot of my actor friends kind of made fun of me that, "Oh yeah, you put a bear suit on," and I was like, "Hey, I love it. I'm really enjoying it." And as an actor, it's a different type of role, and
Yeah.
a role that not many actors get to play. So um, I was one of the first ones cast, I remember, and um, there were, let's see, I think four of us were cast right away. We had many auditions and callbacks,
I
and
gotcha.
at my final callback, they told me right there. Normally, they would go through my agent, and I would hear from my agent, but they told me right there, you got the part.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I went straight to the Columbia Bar and Grill with a buddy of mine. Hey, I got a TV series. Hey, we're rich.
Yeah.
We were drinking champagne, and but it really was, as an actor, although I'd already done lots of television and film work and commercials, this was a regular part in TV series, so that was a big deal for
Yeah.
me. And
Yeah.
so then I remember they cast, I think, four of us right away, and one of them, well, two of the characters changed. The actors changed. One of them was Ken Page was cast as Van Gogh Lion. Ken Page is a great Broadway actor, and now does quite a bit of voiceover work on Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh,
Ken
yeah.
Page,
Mm-hmm.
great actor, and Ken Page originally was cast, and then I guess through negotiating his contract, didn't work out. So
Gotcha.
he didn't end up doing any episodes. He was recast before we started shooting, and then the original Builder Beaver was Michael Sheehan, and Michael Sheehan actually did a few episodes, I think 3 episodes of Zoobilee Zoo,
Mm-hmm.
before he decided that it wasn't for him. And
Gotcha.
and I still keep in touch with him. He's a great guy, very talented actor, and he predominantly did voiceovers. And he found himself here on camera and wearing a costume that was not very comfortable for him.
Right.
And he said, "Boy, if this turns into something that lasts years, don't think I'm going to be happy." So he backed out, and that's how we got Sandy Grin as Builder Beaver.
Builder Beaver.
And
Yep.
Sandy and I are really close friends. We just went to a Dodger game together this past Wednesday
Oh, nice.
and got to see the Dodgers beat the San Francisco Giants, which is always fun.
I understand. Even though I live in Dallas, I'm from South Texas, so I'm more of an Astros fan. So whenever the Astros play the Rangers, I still root for the Astros. So
great. That's good.
Yeah.
I'll be in Texas in October, but in Austin to visit my younger brother and his family.
Oh, okay. Well, I work at a Christmas store up here, so if you have a chance to come up and visit, it's the largest Christmas store in Texas.
Oh, great. And is it in Dallas?
It's in Arlington, so it's right in between Fort Worth and Dallas. Yeah.
Oh, great. I have a cousin who's from Ireland, and he and his wife are living in Dallas right now.
Oh, okay.
She's working there. So maybe I'll go visit them and I'll pop into the Christmas store.
Yeah, it's fun. You should.
Great.
Okay. Again, I know I really want to get into this episode, but there's just a couple of questions really nagging me.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
like how early would you get the scripts for the shows? Is that something that you'd get a lot of time to prep for?
No, not a lot of time. We would do the Zoobilee Zoo was considered a strip series, meaning it's on every day of the week.
Right.
And so we would do 5 shows. We would actually shoot 5 shows in a week.
Oh, wow.
And that means we got our first 5 episodes. I don't know. It seems like about a week before we started shooting them. And then on Monday, we'd get to set on Monday. And first thing Monday morning, we would do a table read of all those 5 episodes, each script.
That's a lot.
Yeah. And that would take us into lunchtime. Then we break for lunch and come back from lunch and actually start camera blocking and rehearsing on Monday after lunch. And then we would all day Tuesday rehearse and camera block scenes. And imagine shooting 5 scripts out of sequence. We would go from one set and shoot all of the scenes in those 5 shows on that one set, because now it's lit and ready to go. Yeah. And then move to the next set. We each had our own set, really, each character. And we do all 5 shows on that set and then move to the next set. So we would shoot all 5 shows Wednesday through Friday. Friday, when we finished shooting, sometimes it was late at night, they would hand us a manila envelope with 5 scripts in it. And we had the weekend to learn our lines. I was 22 years old, 22, 23. And so my weekends were mainly hanging out with my friends and stuff, but I would look at the scripts. But I was always able to learn lines really quickly. So I would pretty much learn my lines Monday and Tuesday and not give up my weekend. Now, other actors work differently. Karen Hartman, who played Talkatoo Cockatoo, I remember she really sat with her scripts most of the weekend, and she even made recordings. And on her recordings, she read all of the other parts. And it was so much fun to listen to her recordings because she would imitate us doing all the lines and then leave a space where her line is supposed to be so that she could,
practice with it. Right.
Yeah. And that's how she works. So she really worked hard over the weekend and was prepared Monday. I looked at the scripts over the weekend and then came in and really started memorizing on Monday and Tuesday. And even all the way up until the time where we're shooting that scene, I would, right before we'd shoot the scene, I'd still be going over my lines and memorizing even more. And and then we do it all again after we finish shooting on Friday. Here's your 5 scripts for Monday.
Wow.
Yeah, so that it was a lot, but really good for an actor. Good training, having to learn so many lines. And I don't remember any actor friends who ever had to learn, 5 scripts a week. It's pretty cool.
Is that just so you can reach the 13-week syndication window there? Okay.
Yep. 5 shows a week and 65 weeks. Why is it 65 weeks?
I think it's 65 episodes.
65 episodes, 13 weeks. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was really good training for an actor, really good practice. And after that, it's pretty easy to memorize one script after that, after memorizing 5.
You're like, this is child's play now.
Yeah. Yep.
Did you do anything special to get into character as Lookout?
Yeah, we actually had a acting coach. I think that's what they called him. Ed Greenberg, really great guy, improv guy. And they hired Ed to work with us to incorporate our animal characteristics and kind of blend in those animal characteristics, but with our human characteristics as well. Because a Zoobilee,
right.
For those who have seen the show, know that a Zoobilee is, humanoid in ways,
right,
but also has a different, animal character too. And so when you asked if we any special way to prepare, we would do exercises with Ed Greenberg in improv and things like that to develop the characters. And I noticed in the very early episodes, we see much more of the animal characteristics. And as the characters really developed, they became more pretty much human, with letting the makeup and the costume be the animal part. But and then I don't remember any of us doing anything special during, to prepare each day. We would do some vocal warm-ups though, because every episode has music elements to it that we would also have to learn the music for the song, any songs we're singing. So yeah, we would do there was a piano on the set. We would do some vocal warm-ups and things. And
would you get lead sheets, like actual sheet music for that, or was
it wasn't actually, no, I take it back. We would get lyric sheets.
Lyric sheets, okay.
And cassette tapes.
Oh, okay.
And the cassette tape had scratch vocals on it with whoever wrote the song. We had lots of different people that wrote songs. Glenn Jordan wrote most of them. And we would get, he would sing along. So you would have that for reference for the melody line. And then on the same cassette tape would be the accompaniment with no vocals, so that you can rehearse over that. I still have some of those tapes too. It's pretty neat.
That is neat. I don't know if you can play them without like a recorder anymore, but
yeah, I think I'll have to go buy a cassette player in order to be able to do it. Yeah.
Well, and I think Saban and Shuki Levy wrote the theme song, didn't they?
Well, Jerry,
or is that just are they just credited as?
They're credited, and
gotcha.
Without going too much into it,
right.
Haim Saban is credited on a lot of the songs in Zoobilee Zoo, and he I don't remember his exact title, music coordinator or something, but he was able to get co-writing credit on a lot of songs that were written by other people.
I gotcha.
David Pomerantz actually wrote the theme song to Zoobilee Zoo, and Haim Saban owned a recording studio. This is before he was a multi-billionaire, and he had this recording studio in Studio City, and he actually engineered that session for the theme song, and then I think they recorded maybe all of the songs at his studio, and he ended up getting writing credit on a lot of the songs, and I think he did that with other shows that he worked on, Power Rangers and other things. So
I gotcha.
He didn't write the theme song. That was David Pomerantz, great songwriter and great singer performer.
Gotcha. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, because I write music as well, so it's very that's very not cool. So we'll just skip on past that. I guess let's go ahead and jump into the plot. So we're talking episode 16 here, Winter Wonderland, and this is a very Lookout Bear centric episode here.
Yeah.
I can imagine you were pretty excited whenever you'd get one that focused more on you. Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, I have the script.
Oh, wow.
My original shooting script. I don't know if you can see, but
I can.
I've got my filter on there. But and in each script has a cover page with the title of the episode, and who it's written by and when it was revised and things like that. And then the next page is the cast list, and the cast list has major roles and minor roles. So yeah, when you get your scripts and you see, oh, major roles, great, I'm doing a lot in that. But there were also weeks that I thought, oh boy, I hope I'm minor roles this week, because I could use a break. But fortunately for me, Lookout Bear started to become one of the real popular characters that the writers would write for, and I think it's because Lookout Bear embodies so many characteristics that that kids look to for I don't know, just how a lot of kids like to live their lives, with adventure and excitement and exploration. So I ended up, getting to be featured in a lot of episodes. And this one, it's right there. Major roles, Talkatoo, Lookout.
Yeah, it's basically just a two-hander, right? For y'all two. Everybody else kind of joins in a little bit, but it's really focused on y'all.
And that was kind of nice when you did get a break like that, when you weren't super featured in a script. You got to relax, hang out, but a lot of times when we were minor characters in a script, we'd still be there to support our other cast members, and you'd want to see what's going on. You want to see their scenes and stuff. So but this one definitely was Lookout and Talkatoo's show, and she's just a wonderful actress, Karen Hartman, who plays Talkatoo, and anytime I got to do scenes with her, I just always loved it, because she's very, very funny, and also very nurturing and supportive as an actress. So that was great.
Yeah, it's always good to work with people like that.
Yeah.
So this starts off with Mayor Ben, just like a lot of them do, and he's kind of looking through his trunk, and he's taking out earmuffs and I think a scarf and some very large boots, and then his swimming trunks.
Yes.
Which I think we're like tie-dyed orange.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's very fashion forward, Mayor Ben.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. But he kind of sets up the whole dynamic of the hibernating bear, and that's what bears do. And I mean, he basically just sets up essentially the plot.
Yeah.
From there, we cut to Talkatoo's house, and you arrive. Lookout Bear arrives on the scene, and Lookout's just very, very bummed.
Hi, Lookout. How you doing?
Oh, great. Thanks, Talkatoo.
Oh, gee, you don't sound great. I mean, great is the sun is shining. It's a beautiful day, and I never felt more zooberific in all of my life. Try it.
I can't, Talkatoo. You see, I'm worried about my cousin Grizzly. I just went up to pick up my mail. I didn't get a letter from him.
Oh.
Because his cousin Grizzly hasn't written him back. He hasn't received a letter from him since like the fall.
Yeah.
And I like this episode because there's a lot of really fun gags and jokes in here.
And every episode of Zoobilee Zoo, you'll find that and it reminds me of the old Rocky and Bullwinkle cartoons, where so much of the humor is way over the kids' heads and really directed towards the parents. And it made Zoobilee Zoo really fun to watch for parents, because they either overhear, dad's in the in the other room working on something, or mom, and they overhear things that jokes that are directed to the parents that they know their kids aren't going to get. So and I think parents appreciated that. So this is one of those episodes where there's lots of little bits and things like that.
Yeah, and as a parent myself, I definitely appreciate that.
Oh, good. Me too. Me too.
Oh,
I'm a parent.
But I do like how he says, that he hasn't received a letter, and Talkatoo says something like, "Well, the Zoo-S mail is slow."
Yeah. Yep. I mean, even that, like, a lot of kids will get that, but that's one of those things their parents will really, Zoo-S. Yeah. we were always doing things like that, making up words, with turning words into replacing letters with as many Z's as possible for Zoobilee Zoo.
I think later on you even say zooberific
Yep.
as well.
Yeah, that we had our own dictionary of Zoobilee Zoo words, and that was one of them. Zooberific.
If you actually printed that out and published it, you'd probably make quite a killing on that, I bet.
Well, let's do it, you and me.
All right, I'm in.
And Haim Saban.
Well, he's got to get credit.
Yeah.
But anyway, no. So, Talkatoo, comforts him and basically tells him, well, he's probably hibernating. And this is where I feel like Lookout is a lot more naive in this episode than in some of the other ones.
She says that, and Lookout says, "What bernating?"
Yeah. Well, and then later on, he says, "What's winter?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
We laughed about that, like how I'm sorry, how dumb Lookout is in this.
Hibernating? What's hibernating?
Well, hibernating is a sleep that lasts for months.
Oh, boy, I've never been that tired before.
Oh, well, some animals hibernate all winter long.
Oh. What's winter?
Winter? Winter's the coldest time of year. It's when it snows.
Oh. What's snow?
And I think this was written by Andrew Borakov and Bill Rosenthal. We had a small staff of writers, and then they would take submissions from other writers who would submit an idea for a script. And this is one of those. And you can, if you know the show, if you know Zoobilee Zoo, you can kind of tell that the characters are not themselves. And
right.
And the writers who wrote most of the scripts, I don't know that they would portray Lookout as being that naive. And even though Lookout Bear is probably, I would say, the second youngest of all the Zoobles, definitely a kid, like a Boy Scout agey kid.
Right.
But he's still pretty sharp. And especially when it comes to things like hibernating, winter. Lookout is an outdoors person too. So it was a little out of character.
Right. And I think that's where I really saw it, because he's an adventurer, he's a traveler. He should know what some of this stuff is.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was a little weird.
Yeah.
But I was just doing my job. I just read the words.
That's right. But we get a wonderful song, which I believe is just a reworked version of Life is an Adventure.
That's right. Yeah.
Winter's an Adventure.
Yep. And that happened a good handful of times on Zoobilee Zoo, where a melody was borrowed from another song and the words rewritten.
Well, and especially shooting, 5 scripts a week, I bet that helped quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, it did. And this is one of those.
Boy!
Come and take a sleigh ride. Come and make a snowman 5 or 6 feet tall. Maybe ice skate if the ice is strong.
Oh, this is fun talking to you.
Winter is December. Winter is November. Winter best of all is the time when Christmas comes along.
Really? I love Christmas.
Yeah, Life is an Adventure as Lookout Bear's anthem, pretty much.
Right.
And then Talkatoo sings Winter.
Right.
Winter's an Adventure. Yeah.
And she has a great line here. She says something like, "Get down with your bird self."
Oh yeah. And I think that was her ad lib, and she would always do stuff like that, and really funny, cute ad libs. And the directors, one in particular, David Grossman, he would kind of encourage that. And at the end of a scene, like when the dialogue ends, he wouldn't necessarily yell cut right away. He'd let us ad lib out of the scene. And and Talkatoo saying "Get down with your bird self" is her own thing.
Well, and he actually directed this episode, so that
yeah, right, yep.
So that scans, that checks out.
Yeah.
So they get the idea to go to Van Gogh Lyon's place and check out, because he's probably got a painting of of winter somewhere.
Yeah, and since Lookout Bear's so dumb, they'll go over to Van Gogh's place, and Talkatoo will show dumb Lookout what winter looks like.
I prefer naive.
Naive.
There you go. No, it is nicer. But yeah, so they go and he's doing that classic painter thing where he's staring at his thumb. And again, another great gag. We get to see what he's actually painting, and instead of something off in the distance that he's just using his thumb to actually check scale for, it's actually a picture of his thumb.
Yes. another joke for parents. The kids will laugh too. But I think it's even funnier to adults.
Well, and then he says something like, "I'm thinking of painting all my fingers."
Yeah. That's funny. That's a good bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what does he call it? What does he call his painting?
Thumb? Was it just
Thumb?
Thumb.
I call it Thumb. Yeah, I'm considering doing portraits of all my fingers.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, those are good bits there.
Yeah.
So they ask if they can see winter or a painting of winter or some sort of snowy scene. And so he says, "Yeah, let me go get it." And he has to go get it from the freezer.
Yes. Pretty funny.
Yeah. Again, it's just a great bit. And so they ask, "Well, why would you keep your painting in the freezer?" And he says, "Because he doesn't want the snow to melt."
Yeah. Yeah, lots of one-liners and funny bits. That's funny.
Yeah. Well, and then this is where again, Lookout is not as sharp as he normally is, and says, I think he even says something like, "Well, where's all the grass and leaves?" To which Van Gogh says, "Well, it's under the snow because I painted it there."
Yeah. How do you know? Yeah. Lookout says, "How do you know?" Because I painted it there.
Yeah.
like he really painted all the grass and leaves and that scenery and then covered it up with snow.
That's a lot of white paint to cover over the green.
Yeah.
That stuff doesn't cover very well.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
So they decide to get, that maybe Mayor Ben can actually send them in the painting, and they can visit the snow. And it's like the magic is really cool because a normal show wouldn't just magically make them there. They'd maybe show them getting on a train to go, but Mayor Ben, they just jump in the painting, and so it's quite ingenious if you think about it.
Yeah, and really creative, but also there were some special effects that today look pretty elementary, but looking back, some of the things that we did were pretty advanced for that time.
Well, I remember that episode where you summon the witch. And then she appears. I mean, that scared me.
Sorry, Jerry.
It's okay. I don't mind.
For example, it says right here, Lookout, to call up a witch, this is what you do. You put your thumb on your head like this, and you spin around 2 times. 1, 2, and you say, "Kazee, kazooie, kazinkazitch, oh, magic spell, bring me a witch." And imagine that. And that's supposed to call a witch?
Bravo! Look behind you!
Look behind me? Oh, come on, Lookout. I'm not going to fall for that old gag. Wait, you're going to tell me there's a witch behind me? Look out! Silly kid. Witches.
So Lookout's packing, and Wazat comes up and wants to know what he's up to, and Lookout doesn't want to tell her.
Yeah, and then there again, kind of out of character, Lookout gets a little mean with her. Like, no, I don't. Lookout doesn't want to take her, and normally, all of the Zoobles are so loving to each other, and that was another thing that I felt was a little out of character. That when Wazat is asking, so many questions, and what do I say? Okay, Talk and I are going to visit Winter and play in the snow and look for my cousin Grizzly. And she says, "I want to go." And then she says it again, and Lookout says, "You promised you wouldn't ask." And goes through this whole thing, and kind of felt like Lookout was being mean to her.
Yeah, which you're right. It's like they were all a big family. So was that something that you noticed while you were reading through the script?
Yeah,
like during the table
I
reading?
did. And and they were really good about, the director, producers, good about listening to our input, what we had to say.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I remember pointing that out. Like, that just doesn't seem like in character for Lookout. Wouldn't he have some sort of nice way to let Wazat down, easy, that she wasn't going to get to go with him?
Mm-hmm.
But and I guess they don't care what I had to say.
Well, and it makes sense if well, I guess they don't always listen, but it does make
Yeah.
sense if someone like not one of the regular writers wrote it, that they might
Yeah.
not know your character as well. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
So Mayor Ben, who I notice is holding some snowshoes,
Uh-huh.
he says he can send them as long as they're back before the paint dries.
Yeah.
And so then they go through, well, what does that sound like?
Uh-huh.
And well, it sounds like a door with the rusty old hinge.
Yeah.
And to which what was that actually makes the noise?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah, she did a good job.
Well, she's our resident musician and singer, and I guess anything audio goes through Wazat.
Gotcha.
Auditory, Yeah, she can make sounds and
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. Well, she did it well, because you understood what it sounded like.
Mhm. Yep.
Anyway, so Mayor Ben says, Zoobilee dee, Zoobilee do, through the winter painting you go, and y'all are magically transported in where you start immediately playing baseball. Like
Yeah.
Takatu says she used to form snowballs with her family, so you grab a little snow bat essentially, and you play baseball.
Yep.
Which is fun. I mean, I'm in Texas, so I don't get a lot of snow, but yeah, it looked like it was a lot of fun to do that, and I would have loved doing that growing up.
Oh yeah. Well, I got to do some of it growing up. I grew up in Southern California, but not too far from Los Angeles, we have mountains where we can go skiing, and I would, with my 4 brothers, my mom and dad would take us up to the snow a few times a year, and we would do that. And I remember when we were shooting that scene, doing something that I would do with my brothers, and it was from the movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Ferris Bueller and his buddy are sitting at Wrigley Field. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say the swing batter.
Yeah. Hey, bada 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 bada. Hey, bada so wing bada.
Cameron.
So I had to throw that in when we were shooting that scene.
Nice. Yeah. That's
Do you remember that?
I do. Yeah.
In
Yeah.
Ferris Bueller. Yeah.
It's such a great movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bueller.
Yeah, and it looks like you're having so much fun, and then it cuts to where she's pointing out, and I guess this is some of the more educational aspects again. So you've already taught us about hibernating and what certain animals do and why, but now we start learning about language.
Yeah.
So they point to deer, and it's she corrects you. It's not deers. It's deer.
It's deer, yeah.
And same thing. It's not gooses, it's geese.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not meese, it's moose.
Yes, and once again, Lookout being naive, Jerry. Not that. It's so weird.
Yeah.
He really is very naive.
Well, you know what? English is hard.
Yeah, but it's a fun way. Like every episode of Zoobilee Zoo had great lessons in it that were woven into great storylines and music. And,
right.
And that's a fun little lesson about groups of animals.
Well, and it did seem like almost every single Zooble embodied like a different way to learn. So Lookout is more like that kinetic learning, where he has to go adventure and explore and feel and do things.
Actually do things,
Yeah.
And Talkatoo learns through words, and she's the word bird, and yeah.
So that was a good. I mean, I like that combo, because I myself am more like I can read something and learn it, whereas sometimes I don't always get it doing it. I have to let me read about it first. So I love that combo. It's great.
Yeah, and it's funny because I'm a doer. I need to do things. I can not necessarily just read something and it locks in. If I'm doing it, then it's easier for me to.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
So Mayor Ben calls Van Gogh, tells him to paint some snow. We get another funny gag where he says, "What color do you want it to be?"
Yes, yes. Which is kind of neat because my dad played a song for me and my brothers when we were younger, a Harry Chapin song called "Flowers Are Red," about an a teacher who told the kids to paint flowers red and the grass green. And here comes a young kid who wants to paint with all the colors. Why can't I paint a purple flower, a green flower? Oh, the grass is green, flowers are red. And there are some teachers that are like that say this is the way it goes. You have to do it this way. When this young kid, wanted to explore with colors and things.
Right.
And so I think this is great. What color snow do you want?
I would have liked to have seen purple snow.
Yeah, and it might have sparked something for a child in their creativity. Like, oh, wait a minute, I can paint snow whatever color I want. Why not?
Yeah, let's make a blue duck. Why not?
Yeah. When we go outside, with the snow we see is white or whatever color it's mixed with, gets dirty and then it's brown, whatever.
Right.
But why limit, especially an artist?
Right.
How about purple snow? Why not?
But he has a good response. Makes no difference to me.
Yep. Yep. Another good one-liner.
And immediately Lookout says, "Hey, the sky is leaking."
Look, the sky is leaking. Oh, look, I caught one.
But there's nothing there.
Oh, there was a minute ago. Oh, no. I think I killed it.
Oh, no. You didn't kill it. It melted because your body is warmer than the snow.
Oh.
Yes?
And then she says, "No, it's just melting." Because I think he even says something like, "I killed it," after she says it's snow.
The sky's leaking. She says, "Why it's snowing. Snow," Lookout says. And then in the script says "Zuba wah wah wow," and that's another thing I do remember. I forgot what I ended up saying, but I did not say Zuba wah wah wow. And then Sea Talker 2, I caught one, and she says, "I don't see anything." And I said, "What? It was there a minute ago. I killed it."
Yeah.
Oh my, no, you didn't kill it, dear. It just melted because your body is warmer than the snow. Another lesson there.
Another lesson. Yep. And then he falls on the ice. The ice starts to break, and so they immediately run off. But they're able to find Grizzly's cave.
Yeah.
And I like how they scrape the sign, and it says like, "Home of Grizzly Bear, do not disturb until spring, hibernating."
Yes. Hibernating.
And she gets very, very scared. Which, hey, I wouldn't want to wake a sleeping grizzly either.
Yeah, even a cousin.
That's it. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm from a large Hispanic family, so I think my cousins would probably beat me up if I did that.
Yeah, but Lookout, that's his cousin. He wants to say hi to his cousin.
Yeah, of course. He won't hurt us. It's Grizzly. So they go in the cave, and we see Grizzly lying down asleep. And then they start to hear the paint drying, so they take off.
Did you hear something funny? Oh, well, like the sound of an old door with a rusty hinge.
That wasn't the door. That's the sound of paint drying.
Holy cow. Let's get out of here, or we're going to be stuck in winter forever.
Yeah. Let's go.
And another funny bit, as like they're leaving, Takatu can't help but notice that the plant was dry and dying, which is really cool. I mean, that I would just be trying to leave as fast as I could if there was a grizzly after me.
Yeah. But she loves creatures.
She does.
Big and small. Even the plants are her friends.
And she says, "Oh, I made a major Zubu."
Yeah.
Another funny one. And then I think you say, "Let's get out of here before we turn to a couple of Zoosicles."
Yeah. Zoosicles, yeah.
Zoosicles, yeah.
Yep.
And so there's this is where we get the audience participation portion. And so Mayor Ben convinces everyone if they clap their hands and cross their fingers and just think wet paint,
Yeah.
And you can hear the other Zoobles chanting wet paint because there's just
Yeah.
one tiny little portion that's wet left.
Right. And that's kind of a scary idea, for little kids to think that look
That's
out and
true.
talk to are going to get stuck in a painting. That's gnarly.
Yeah,
know?
that's right. But of course, they make it out, and then we get a reprise of Winter's an Adventure, and Mayor Ben wraps it up. So on a day like this, where it was mostly just y'all two, would that affect production in any way? Because I think the version that I watched had a couple of segments here and there. It was like from the archive on YouTube, and so I
Yeah.
think it actually had some information. So whenever something like this, where it was really just a couple of people that were the major characters, would you guys just be recording later, or was it something that you come in
Not
and do extra?
necessarily. Yeah,
Gotcha.
not necessarily. We would do it just the same, And this one, you notice that there aren't many scenes on other sets. Mayor Ben's cave,
Right.
which
Mhm.
happened to be a different sound stage, where we shot Zoobilee Zoo. It's Havenhurst Studios,
Mhm.
and there were two sound stages. One big one, and on that big one, you had all of our sets. Everybody's set was, and it looked like, if you just looked at it, it looked like Zoobilee Zoo, where
Mhm.
everybody's set is laid out in like on a road going up a road, and then Ben's stage was a smaller sound stage that had his set with his cave, overlooking Zoobilee Zoo. And on a day like this, when there were just mainly two of us in the episode, I remember it being just a little quieter because there wasn't as much activity as there
Mm.
would be if all five of us, is there five or six? Six of us, right?
6, I think. Mhm.
Yeah. If all six of us were doing a scene, there would be a lot more activity because everybody had, their makeup artist, and it was all. I don't want to make it sound like we had a whole team of people for each actor, but
Right.
there was a lot more activity, like, more, each actor brought more people to the set. So
Gotcha.
when there were six of us doing a scene, that was six of us, a lot more makeup artists, a lot more hairdressers, a lot more everything, a lot more production assistants, things like that. So I never actually thought about it till you asked the question, but the only difference was that it was just a little quieter on the set, and not as much activity
Okay.
when we would have an episode like this.
And I think this was the only time that Christmas was mentioned in all of the in the whole
Yeah.
series. Yeah.
Yep.
And it's
Yep. And you
in the
found
song.
it. And you found it.
I will
and because
find
of
it,
that,
yeah.
I get to be on your podcast.
Which I'm very grateful for. All right. So in the 1986 Hollywood Christmas parade that we were talking about, I think everyone was in costume except Ben. Was that just because of like a scheduling thing, or?
I don't think so. I think it was because he was already a big star,
I
and
gotcha.
and I know he did not like the makeup. I remember one day on the set, he just he described it as being claustrophobic in his nose,
Oh, yeah, I
and
can imagine that.
he ripped it off. And I think, and I was there when he did it, and I remember him thinking that, okay, I'm done for the day, because
Mhm.
those noses were very expensive, hundreds of dollars for each nose,
Oh, wow.
and we could only wear it once. So that's a lot of noses that we went through.
Mhm.
But so he thought, oh, I took my nose off, so good, I'm done for the day. I can't take it anymore. And they go, no, we got to keep shooting. We'll put another nose on you.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So he wasn't crazy about the makeup,
Right.
and none of us were really recognizable as actors then. I think the costumes made such an impact. The costumes won an Emmy Award.
They did, yeah.
The costumers won an Emmy Award for creating them. But so I think the idea, and our publicist at the time was a big part of this decision, was we'll wear our costumes, and kids will get excited about watching Zoobilee Zoo on TV, and they'll see the Zoobles in person.
Mhm.
And then Ben will sort of be himself, and
Gotcha.
the celebrity Ben Vereen. And I think that was a good decision.
Yeah.
But like I said, we got to meet so many famous actors, and we have really great photographs from that time. And the guy who played the Lone Ranger was there in his costume and his mask and his guns, and got a great picture with him. And like I said, Jane Seymour and her family, Rip Taylor.
That's fun. He always seems like so much fun.
Yeah, he was totally in character. And that night, I don't know if this is interesting to anybody but me, but it sure was neat. The green room, everybody's quote unquote dressing room, all the celebrities' dressing rooms were different hotel suites right around Hollywood.
Oh, okay.
And ours was the penthouse at the Roosevelt Hotel. And Clark Gable and Carol Lombard lived together in that suite, that penthouse suite. And so it's got a lot of Hollywood history.
Yeah.
And that was our dressing room or waiting room. And then they, when it was time, they picked us up in limousines and brought us to KTLA television studio and brought us into the waiting room, the green room there. And that's where we saw all these celebrities, and we were kind of a spectacle with our costumes and makeup. So even for those who didn't know Zoobilee Zoo, they wanted to come over and say hi. But the ones who did know Zoobilee Zoo were very excited to bring their kids over. And
that's cool. It's still so cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do have to ask, what would you say? And I know it's kind of hard because it's such a big part of your life and it's all a great experience, but what would you say would be your happiest memory or moment as part of Zoobilee Zoo?
It's a little strange that this would be my happiest. But I'll tell you a couple things that came from Zoobilee Zoo that were, looking back, happy, at the time not so happy. One of them was a little girl in New Jersey. Her wish was to meet Lookout Bear, and she had spina bifida, and she was terminally ill, and she was about 10, I think, 8 to 10, maybe 8. And she wanted to meet Lookout Bear. So I was able to get a friend of mine who owned a resort in Newport Beach to donate a room. Hallmark donated a lot of toys and things for her. A friend at Disneyland donated tickets to Disneyland. And so she came out with her sister and her mother, and they got to come to my house. And she specified she wants to meet Michael B. Moynahan, the actor. And then she also wants to meet Lookout Bear. So the first day she came to second day she came to my house. First day they checked into the resort in Newport Beach, and Lookout Bear spent the day with her at this resort. And she had been in a wheelchair for many years and didn't really like to get out of the wheelchair, although she was capable of it. It just was hard for her. But in preparation of meeting her friend Lookout Bear, she practiced and was doing a lot of walking. And her mother told me the doctors were just amazed at the progress she made, so that she could show Lookout Bear that she can walk. And she wanted to race Lookout Bear in a foot race. And I don't know, Lookout was off his game that day because he lost that race. And it was a long day. In makeup. But I left there exhausted, but thinking this is one of the greatest days of my life, because I, for some reason, was fortunate enough to be chosen to make this beautiful girl smile and laugh and walk for the day. And if it weren't for Zoobilee Zoo and the fact that I was cast as Lookout Bear, I wouldn't have been able to experience that. And that's why I say it doesn't seem like a happy thing, but it really was one of the turning point in my life when I realized what was important. And up until then, it was all about me and my career and my money and my acting and me. And I realized, wow, how happy it made me to be able to make someone happy like that. And so that's a happy time. Well, the next day, the limousine brought her to my house, and I made breakfast for us. And Hallmark had sent out this big basket, T-shirts and toys and books and games of Zoobilee Zoo. She got that, and then we went to Disneyland together, and they made her a VIP, and just Mickey Mouse was pushing her in the wheelchair. It was just a really special weekend, and so that's a very happy memory. And the other one also seems sad, but there was a little boy, Jonathan Edwards, and he had brain tumors, brain cancer. And Sandy Grin played Builder Beaver. We were invited, his mother invited us to go visit him, and he was a big Zoobilee Zoo fan. And so we did. We went to his house, and he was in bedridden with his cancer. And we just sat all day long laughing and joking and talking with him, and developed a friendship with Jonathan. And then he had to go back in the hospital. We got to visit him there. And he did pass away from his brain cancer. And his parents asked that we would be pallbearers for him. And another really turning point in my life, that this was important to him to meet me. And so I considered it a real gift that I was able to make a difference for Jonathan and his family too. And so those, although they don't seem like happy types of situations, to me, those are my happiest memories. That I actually got to do something good for the world instead of taking things from the world. Don't mean to bring everything down, but it really is. They are happy memories.
Yeah.
And if you could have been there, you would understand the joy that we all felt, both from the little girl, and I'll remember her name when I'm not trying to think about it, and also little Jonathan. And Zoobilee Zoo gave me those gifts. So those are the happy things.
Well, that's incredible. I mean, it's I'm I'm getting all misty just thinking about it. But
hey, your podcast is about Christmas and your Christmas store, and boy, nothing, there's nothing like the Christmas spirit and that joy, and so it's very similar. What the stories that I told you is, I mean, it's like that's the Christmas spirit. It's just joy. It's good. It's positive. It's gentle. It's beautiful. It's joy. And
amen.
There you go.
Yep. So when it comes to acting, landing the role is half the battle. What do you think the other half is?
Being prepared is a big thing, because an audition is so different than the work. And if I was an actor who was a great auditioner but not great on the set, or a lot of actors that I've worked with have bad attitudes, or they're just not nice people. And I think part of being prepared is being able to get along with people on the set, to know that even though the actors get pampered on the set, and I love that, we're not the most important person on that set. And everybody is important on that set. We have writers, we have makeup artists, costumers, director, production assistants, lighting guys, and every person is so important on that set. And a lot of actors who I know, a lot of my friends, they get on the set and they consider themselves the most important, probably because they're getting most of the attention. But half the battle is getting the job, being able to audition well and get the job. I think the other half is being prepared and being able to work with people and get along and keep the job, I guess, is the other half. Keeping the job.
There you go.
And that's all part of keeping the job and getting the next job. And I think and I've been told that I'm easy to work with and fun to work with, and so that word gets around, and actors develop reputations as being easy to work with, fun to work with, or miserable to work with. And so, yeah, I guess my answer is auditioning, getting the job is half the job, and the other half is keeping it and getting the next one.
All right.
Now we know.
And knowing is half the battle.
Well, Michael, it's been phenomenal talking with you in general and on this episode specifically. But tell me about anything you got coming up. What do you want to plug?
Well, I don't know if it's appropriate, but I was asked to do a podcast.
Okay. Yeah.
And by two friends, I consider them friends now, but Zoobilee Zoo still today, believe it or not, has a huge fan base. And kids who watched it when we went on the air back in the 80s, and we stayed on the air into the 2000s, somewhere in the world, we were still on the air into the 2000s. And a lot of those people are now having their own kids and sharing Zoobilee Zoo with their kids. And Louise Valens, Stevie Valens, she also goes by, who played Was That Kangaroo. She started a Facebook group that is a place where a lot of these Zoobilee Zoo fans and friends can get together and talk about Zoobilee Zoo and share stories and ask questions to the cast and things. And there were two guys who were part of that, and they contacted me and asked if I would be a guest on their podcast, Zoobilee Zoo Podcast. And I said, yeah, that'd be fun. They said, we'd like you to sort of be a co-host, and we can ask you questions, kind of like what you just asked, Jerry, some of the questions that you asked, and I get to go over, and they're doing it one episode at a time.
Oh, okay.
So,
Nice.
yeah. So, you got the Winter Wonderland, the Christmas episode in. I wish we had more Christmas episodes so I could be back on your show. But the Zoobilee Zoo podcast has been fun, and 2 episodes come out each month, and that's been fun. But I'm also the lead singer and front man of a Beach Boys tribute band called the Beach Toys.
Fun.
And we have some shows coming up, and I love the music of the Beach Boys, and I'm also a musician, so I share during the show, throughout the show, share the history of the Beach Boys, and we play the music note for note like they recorded it. So people get to hear the Beach Boys music live, and each band member in the Beach Toys is playing and singing a corresponding Beach Boys parts. So it's as close as you can really come today to hearing how the Beach Boys sounded when they were playing live, when they started out. And I get to share some of the history of the Beach Boys. So the Beach Toys, we maybe in a venue near you. You can find us on Facebook, and we do a lot of corporate events and a lot of companies who come out to California to have their meetings because it's cold in Minnesota or wherever they're coming from.
Right.
And they want a California experience. So we end up doing a lot of shows for those corporate parties down by the beach here in Southern California.
Okay.
And then we also travel around the country, around the world, Japan, all over the place, South America.
So are you Brian Wilson or
No, Mike Love.
Oh, okay, Mike. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Okay. Nice.
Yep. And as a songwriter yourself, I'm sure you appreciate the Beach Boys music and the impact that it had on all music, since then, and the influence that Brian Wilson and his music had on so many songwriters.
Very much. I remember listening to it growing up all the time, and also, I mean, when he used the theremin,
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's the instrumentation, just everything. Yeah, Pet Sounds is phenomenal. So
Great album. Love
great album. Yeah.
it. Yeah.
All right. Well, definitely check out. So it's called the Zoobilee Zoo Podcast.
Yep.
All right. So definitely check out the Zoobilee Zoo Podcast. I assume you find that anywhere you get podcasts.
Yep. I'm so terrible with all this stuff, and the guys tell me, "Hey, Mike, make sure people know where to find us." Yeah, wherever you find podcasts, you'll find the Zoobilee Zoo Podcast.
Okay. All right.
Is it like, how do we find yours? Spotify and
You can
things like that?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Spotify, Stitcher, Apple. Yep.
Yeah.
All those.
Yeah.
So-
Well, I'm gonna have to tell all my friends to tune in.
Oh, that'd be fun. Thank you. And on that note, I'm going to say thanks one more time. It was very informative and so much fun just chatting with
Well-
you and learning all
Well,
this
it's
stuff.
my pleasure, Jerry. It's so nice to meet you. Such a nice guy. And can we say Merry Christmas, even though
Of course. Yeah.
it's
Merry
not Christmas time? Merry Christmas.
We sure can.
Great.
And I'm going to end it by saying, come and take a sleigh ride. Come and make a snowman 5 or 6 feet tall. So check us out on our social media pages, Facebook and Instagram at Totally Rad Christmas, Twitter at Rad Christmas, or our Facebook group, Totally Rad Christmas Mall and Arcade, where you can make your voice known to us as well. We post anything and everything 80s or Christmas related. And if you're feeling like Lookout playing in the snow, leave us a review on iTunes. It helps us reach more people and spread some rad holiday cheer. Now, don't forget to check out our merch shop on tpublic.com and our super dope website, totallyradchristmas.com, courtesy of Tis the Podcast Elf, Tom Crow. Merry Christmas to all, and to all a safe night. Later, dudes.
I tell you one thing. You won't catch me waking up any hibernating grizzlies in the wintertime. That's for sure. See you soon, Subarus.